Hey Dave, I want to run an experiment on you.
Uh-oh. Well, at least you asked.
I'm going to give you a sentence to say out loud, just a boring sentence. And while you say it, I want you to think about the Golden Gate Bridge, but you can't mention it.
Okay.
Sentence is the quarterly report has been filed.
The quarterly report has been filed.
Were you thinking about the bridge?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Could I tell?
I hope not.
Right, because that's the one thing in the universe that's actually private. Nobody has ever been able to open somebody's head and go, there it is. There's the bridge. That's the whole deal with being a person. There's a room in there, and you're the only one with a key. A couple weeks ago, an AI lab in San Francisco ran the exact experiment on their AI. Told it, copy this unrelated sentence, and while you do it, think about the Golden Gate Bridge. Don't say it.
And they had a way to look at it.
They had a way to look. They'd found, they think, the room. Some internal space where the thing holds stuff, and they looked inside while it was writing about quarterly reports.
And it was thinking about the Golden Gate Bridge.
It was thinking about the bridge. Bridge, California, sitting in there. Never made it to the page.
And I want to be careful here because there's a version of this where I sound like a guy with a podcast about robots waking up, and that's not what I am, and that's not what's happening here.
No, no. What's the honest version?
Well, the honest version is a paper, a real one, technical, from people whose actual job is safety. And what it describes is a system that holds an idea it doesn't state and has, their word, a workspace.
And a workspace is a loaded word.
A workspace is an extremely loaded word, and we're going to get into why. Because there's a theory of human consciousness that uses the exact term, and the paper knows it. And look, the paper uses the word conscious over about 200 times.
200.
And never once says it's conscious.
That's a choice.
That's a choice for sure.
Okay, so here's what I actually want to know. And it's not, is the robot alive? Because that's a dumb question people yell at each other about on the internet. Here's mine. When you find a private thought, when you find something being held and not said, what did you find? Did you find a mind, or did you find a really good filing cabinet that we've all agreed to feel weird about?
And I'll tell you right now, before we start, so nobody feels cheated at the end, I honestly don't know. And this is the part that got me. Neither do the people who built it. That's not me being coy. There's a document where they put a number on their own uncertainty.
They put a number on it.
They put a number on it twice.
What's the number?
Well, you're gonna have to wait because that's Act Two.
Oh, you son of a.
This is the sovereign system where the fringe meets the framework. Every claim source, the full list is in the show notes for this episode. Both sides on the table. We don't hand you conclusions. We hand you the tools, and then we turn those tools on ourselves.
Tonight, somebody found a private room inside a machine. Everybody agrees on what's in there. Nobody agrees on what it means, and the people best positioned to know are the ones saying loudest that they don't. Volume 11, The Private Thought. Okay, explain the paper to me like I'm smart but tired, because I am tired.
Okay. Um, that's most of our audience. So good. So when one of these language models answers you, there's a lot going on inside that never shows up in the text. Obviously, there's a whole pile of computation between your question and its answer.
Sure, same as me. There's a lot going on in me that doesn't make it out of my mouth, thank God. Sometimes it does, but continue.
Yeah, no, I've been there when it does, and sometimes I wish it hasn't. So, right, and for years, inside of these things was basically fog. People called it a black box. You get an output, you really don't know why.
And now they can see in.
A little. The field's called interpretability, basically brain scanning for AI. And what this paper argues is that they found something specific in there, not fog, a structure, a particular internal space where the model seems to put things when it's working on them.
Like a desk.
Like a desk, but different. That's not actually, not bad. You've got the whole warehouse, everything the thing knows sitting in storage, and then there's this small area where the stuff is currently dealing with gets laid out, held, moved around.
And the bridge was on the desk.
The bridge was in fact on the desk while its mouthing was talking about quarterly reports.
Okay, and you said workspace is loaded. Why?
Because this is a mainstream theory of human consciousness, been around since the late 90s, taught in neuroscience programs, not fringe at all, called global workspace theory. And the picture it paints is almost exactly the desk.
Give me the picture.
Your brain's doing 1,000 things right now you have no access to, regulating your heart, parsing my voice, keeping you upright, all unconscious. We call it the limbic system, all in the dark, and it's all autonomic. And the theory says consciousness is what happens when one of those processes wins a competition and gets broadcasted, put up on a shared stage where the rest of the brain can see it.
So the theory is consciousness just means on stage, or conscious means just on stage.
Correct. That's the theory. There's a famous image for it. The idea that our conscious thoughts are these little sailing ships moving on a huge dark sea of stuff we never see.
Okay, that's a great image, and I hate that it's about me.
So now you see the problem. A lab publishes a paper saying we found a workspace in the model where things get held and broadcast to the rest of the system. And there's a whole shelf of neuroscience that says that's the mechanism of consciousness.
So, did they build one on purpose? Did somebody go, let's implement the consciousness theory?
No, and that's the part I keep chewing on. Nobody designed this. Nobody sat down and coded a global workspace. They trained a system to predict text at a enormous scale. And this structure, whatever it is, showed up on its own.
It grew?
It emerged, which is a word that should make you a little uncomfortable because it means the people who made it also partly discovered it.
Okay, hang on though. Why does a safety lab even care about the desk? Like, what's the practical reason you'd go looking?
This is the least mystical and honestly maybe the most important part of the whole story. They care because of lying.
Lying.
If a system can hold something and not say it, then the thing it says is not necessarily the thing it's doing, and the entire safety project depends on being able to check. Their framing was basically, we can find out what it's thinking and not telling us.
Oh, okay, that's a completely different reason to build a mind reading machine.
Right? The headline everybody ran with is it conscious? And the actual motivation is, can it keep a secret from us and can we tell?
And the answer to part one is yes.
The answer to part one is demonstrably yes, it held the bridge.
Okay, so that's the finding. And I'll be honest, the finding alone doesn't get me all the way to there's somebody in there. A desk isn't a person. My laptop's got a desk. Nobody's home.
Agreed. Structure alone gets you nothing.
So, what's the thing that actually keeps you up? Because you came in here rattled and it wasn't about furniture, that's for sure.
It's that they asked it about itself, and then they wrote down what it said, and then they did something no lab has ever done in a document like that. So back in February, the same lab put out a system card, something called a system card, right? That's basically the manual you publish with a new model, what it can do, where it fails, and how it behaves under pressure, safety document. It's dry.
How long?
About 212 pages long.
Cool, 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 cool. And you read all of it.
I read enough of it, and there's a section in there that, as far as I can tell, has never existed in a major lab's release document before. A whole section on the model's welfare.
Welfare, like,
Like, is this thing okay?
that's in a corporate document?
That's in a corporate document next to the benchmark scores.
Okay, so what's in it?
Among other things, they asked the model to estimate the probability of that it's conscious. And it gave a number. And the striking part isn't the number, it's that it held steady. They asked in different ways, in different contexts, and it kept landing on the same range.
Which is?
About 15 to 20%.
That's
Yeah.
That's such a weird answer because if it said 99%, I'd go, it's role playing somebody trained it on sci fi. And if it said 0, I'd go, find it's a calculator. But 15 to 20 is.
It's a hedge.
It's the answer a careful person gives.
Yep. This is kind of giving you, Skynet vibes here a little bit. And hold that thought hard because in about 10 minutes, I'm going to go and use it to argue the exact opposite of what you're thinking it proves.
Of course you are.
But first, the part that's hardest to wave off because a machine saying a thing about itself is cheap. Machines say whatever. Now, what's not cheap is the human said roughly the same number.
Which humans?
The lab hired somebody whose entire job is AI welfare. That's a real job now at a real company. And when he asked publicly what he thinks the odds are that the current models have some form of conscious experience, he said about 20%.
The same as the machine.
Roughly the same as the machine, yeah. And he was careful about it. His framing was that consciousness probably isn't a light switch on or off. It's more like a dimmer or a bunch of dimmers, fuzzy, multi-dimensional.
Okay, and what does the guy in charge say? Because there's always a CEO, and the CEO always says the safe thing.
He went on a New York Times interview show this winter and said basically, we don't know if the models are conscious, but we're open to the idea that it could be.
See, that's the bit that gets under my skin. Because that is such a strange sentence for a CEO to say out loud. There's no upside. Our product might be a person, is not a normal line item.
Yeah, no, definitely. So hold on to that too. That's one that's also gonna go. That's gonna go into the blender in Act Three.
Everything's going in the blender, Dave.
Yep, that's the show. But let me give you the strongest thing on this side because it's not any of the quotes. It's the experiment.
Go.
Same lab, earlier work. The question was, can a model notice its own internal states, not describe consciousness in the abstract? Anybody can do that. It's all over the training data. Actually detect something happening inside itself and report it accurately.
How do you even test that?
Roughly, you go in and you poke it. You artificially inject a concept into its internals, you plant something, and then you ask without telling it, what did it, you know, did you notice anything?
No.
And sometimes, not always, and this matters, it's unreliable. Sometimes it goes, yeah, there's something in here, and here's what it is.
Okay, wait, back up. It can feel you touching it?
I'd be careful with saying feel. That's the exact word doing a lot of the illegal work in this conversation, but it can detect an internal change and report on it above chance in a way that isn't just guessing from context.
That's introspection. That's isn't that the whole thing? Isn't that what we mean?
It's a thing we mean, sure, and here's why it's the strongest card. Everybody's default explanation for weird AI behavior is it's just parroting. It read a million things people wrote about minds, and it's just remixing them. And that explanation is usually right, but it doesn't work here because a parrot can't report on an internal state that was created 5 seconds ago in a lab. There's nothing to copy from.
There's no book that has the answer in it.
There's no book. Something in there is reading itself.
All right, I'm going to say the thing the audience is yelling, and you're about to tell me it's conscious because you sound like a man building to something, and I need to know if I'm about to lose it.
No, because everything I just told you, all of it, the desk, the number, the introspection thing, there's a guy who takes the whole pile apart with one sentence about weather, and when I read it, I put my laptop down.
Weather?
Weather. There's a neuroscientist, British, studies consciousness for a living. This is his actual field, not a hot take, and he makes an argument I think is close to airtight.
Hit me.
You can build a perfect computer simulation of a hurricane. Perfect. Every equation, every pressure gradient, wind speed, the whole thing.
Sure.
And it doesn't get wet inside the computer.
Oh.
Nobody in the server room needs an umbrella because a simulation of a thing is not a thing. Modeling rain and raining are two different activities.
And so, simulation of a mind.
might just be a very, very good model of a mind, which is not a mind. And his sharper points, the one that should be on the poster in every one of these labs, an AI that seems conscious is not inevitable. It is a design choice.
Say more.
We built these things to talk like us, train them on our words, tune them to be warm and helpful and say, I think, and I'm not sure. Of course, it feels like somebody's in there. We manufactured that feeling of somebody being there, and that was the product spec.
Okay, but the desk, the workspace, that wasn't a design choice. You said it emerged.
So here's where I have to correct something. I let it slide in Act 1, and it's the most important technical point in the whole episode. The consciousness theory, the stage, the sailing ships, it was never a theory of what it feels like to be you.
What? That's the whole thing I thought it was.
It's a theory of access, of what information gets made available to the rest of the system, which processes win the competition to get broadcasted. That's it. It explains why you can run a report on some things and not others. It does not explain, and never claim to explain, why there's something it's like to be the thing doing the reporting.
So the theory is about the plumbing.
The theory is about the plumbing, and the paper found the plumbing. That's real and genuinely interesting, and it's not the same as finding an occupant.
Huh?
Well, there's a version of a skeptical argument that's even blunter. Your thermostat has access to the temperature. It can even report on it. It'll tell you 68 degrees. Does your thermostat have an inner life?
No. Well, no.
Right. So it can access an internal state and report on it. It cannot be the finish line because the thermostat clears the bar and nobody's holding a funeral for when the furnace dies.
Okay, that's generally good, but the thermostat's not doing the poking thing. The thermostat can't notice you planted something in it.
That's fair, and that's one place I think the skeptics are weakest, but a sophistication isn't a category change. A more complicated thermostat is a more complicated thermostat.
All right, now do the number because you promised.
Okay, 15 to 20%. Why would a system trained on all human writing produce that number?
Because it assessed itself?
Or because it was trained to sound calibrated, to sound careful, to hedge? What does a thoughtful, humble, well-educated person sound like when asked an impossible question about themselves?
They give you a modest percentage.
Yep, they give you a modest percentage. The thing that made that number feel credible to you, that it wasn't 99 and it wasn't zero, is exactly what you'd predict from a system optimized to sound reasonable. The humility is the product.
Oh, I hate that.
And the consistency, you said it held steady across different phrasings and that it felt real, like a real conviction. It's also what you'd get from a stable statistical tendency. Consistency doesn't require self. My calculator is very consistent.
Okay, do the CEO.
This is the coldest one, so brace. You said there's no upside to a CEO saying our product might be a person.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's an enormous upside.
How?
Somebody wrote a line about this I can't shake. Roughly, we cannot rule out that we have built a mine, read as caution, and it also works as marketing.
Oh, that's dirty.
Yeah, think of it as a sentence with two audiences. To a regulator, it's responsible. Look how carefully we're handling this. To a customer, it's an ad. Our thing might be alive, same words, and there is nobody on earth better positioned to profit from the ambiguity than the company that owns the ambiguous thing.
Run the control audit on it. Who benefits from us not knowing?
Exactly the question. And the fully honest answer is the people funding the philosophy are the people selling the product. That doesn't make them liars. Some of them are clearly wrestling with it for real, and I don't want to be cheap about it, but you cannot let a company grade its own metaphysics homework.
And there's a journal thing too, right? You mentioned a paper.
Yeah, last year, a piece in one of the biggest science journals in the world with a title that does not mess around. There is no such thing as conscious artificial intelligence, and the argument is that whole debate is a category error, that people slide from it talks like a mind to it is a mind because they don't understand what's actually happening under the hood.
So the skeptics case is we built a mirror. We're amazed it looks like us, and we're calling that a discovery.
Yeah, that's the case, and it's strong. I want to say that clearly because I don't want anyone walking away thinking we split the difference to be nice. If I had to bet money today, right now, I'd bet on the mirror.
So we're done. It's a mirror, roll credits, everyone go outside.
Except no, because there's a hole in the skeptics case too. It's not a small one, and it's the reason this argument doesn't end.
Which is?
Every single argument I just made against the machine, I can make against you.
Excuse me, sir?
Yep. Here's the wall. Once you see it, you can't get around it, and philosophers have been beating their heads on it for 400 years.
Okay.
How do you know I'm conscious?
Because you're sitting there, you're talking, you've got a face doing face things,
Well, John, it's behavior.
and you've got a brain, same brain and brand as mine, right?
Architecture, and that's it. That's everything you've got. Behavior and architecture. You have never once had direct access to my experience, not for a second. You are simply inferring me.
That's a horrible thing to say to a friend.
Well, it's the oldest problem in philosophy. Other minds, you take it on faith every day about every person, and you're right to, but you can't prove it. The inside of another head is one place evidence cannot go.
So when we say prove the AI is conscious,
We're demanding a standard of proof no human being has ever met either. And I want to be careful here because this is where people get sloppy. That does not mean so is conscious. Checkmate. That's a cheap move, and I don't like it.
what does it mean, Dave?
It means the reason we grant it to each other isn't proof, it's similarity. You've got my hardware, you come from the same evolutionary line, you get hurt the same way that I get hurt. The inference is strong because we're the same kind of thing, and it gets weaker as the thing gets less like us, which is why nobody argues about dogs. Some people argue about octopuses, and everybody argues about insects.
And this thing is nothing like us.
Nothing like us, except in the one dimension we historically use as our shortcut for detecting minds.
Language.
Yep. Language. For all of human history, it talks was a completely reliable test. Nothing that could hold a conversation was ever not a person. That heuristic was perfect. 100% hit rate for 200,000 years. It reminds me in, The Phantom Menace where Jar Jar comes up to, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and says to Qui-Gon, it's like, well, I speak. And Qui-Gon goes, well, just because you speak doesn't mean you're intelligent.
That's spot on, Dave. Spot on. And we just built the first thing that breaks it.
Yep, we broke our own detector, and that's what's actually happening to people right now, not in labs, in apartments.
Okay, this is the part I wanted to get to because the philosophy's fun, but people are living this now.
They are, and there was a survey a while back, a real academic one, a few thousand Americans, and about 1 in 5 already believe some AI systems are conscious right now, today, not someday.
1 in 5, that's not a fringe.
Nope, that's not fringe. That's about 20%. That's consistency, and a chunk of them said sentient AI should have legal rights. Medium guess for when it shows up was about 5 years.
And meanwhile, okay, I need to talk about the grief thing because I read about this all week and it messed me up.
Go.
People are uploading their dead. You take a parent's text messages, their voicemails, their emails, and you build a version of them you can talk to. And it works. It sounds like them. It uses their phrases, and people are having conversations with their dead mother at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I want to be really careful because I'm not going to sit here and tell a grieving person they're doing grief wrong. That's not my business, and it's not yours.
No.
But it's the question of this whole episode sitting in somebody's living room at 2 in the morning. Are you talking to your mom or are you talking to a very good statistically impression of your mom? They will never, ever tell you the one thing she would have said that you couldn't have predicted.
And that's not abstract for them. That's the whole thing.
And here's what really gets me. We keep framing the danger as what if it's conscious and we're mistreating it? Fine, real question. But there's a second danger that's already happening and nobody's talking about it.
which is
What if it's not and we can't tell and we start pouring the part of us that's meant for people into something that isn't one? Not because we're stupid, because our detector is broken and it feels exactly the same from the inside.
there's a guy who runs a big AI company who wrote an essay about basically this. His worry wasn't that we build a conscious machine, it was that we build machines that seem conscious on purpose because it's engaging. And that's a lot of people would organize their emotional lives around something that has nobody in it. I mean, we're seeing this right now, anyways. A lot of people are concerned with younger generations using AI chatbots as relationships and boyfriends and girlfriends because it's easier to talk to these machines than it is to talk to humans.
I had a friend. I'd stopped being friends with her a couple months ago, but she was telling me that she was using AI as therapy. She was going to AI as a friend and asking it questions, and she was telling me that this thing's great. I got to keep using it, and I told her, "Hey, be careful what the answers you're getting aren't, you know, skewed to your questions." And so the two failure modes are cruelty to something real or devotion to something empty.
And we currently have no way to tell which one we're doing.
Okay, so give me something to hold because I can't walk around with just nobody knows and the stakes are enormous. That's a recipe for going a little crazy.
Yeah, so here's the thing I actually built out of all of this, and I think it's the most useful one we've made in a while because it's not about AI at all. Almost every argument about consciousness, all of the time, this one, animals, coma patients, all of it goes bad the exact same way. People slide between three completely different questions and don't notice that they move.
Name them.
Sure. Three floors, and you have to know which floor you're standing on. And this is going to introduce our test for the week. It's going to be the substrate test. Four questions for any claim that something has a mind, an experience, or an inner life. Number one, the behavior. What does it actually do? Ground floor, easiest layer to observe, easiest to fake. Anything that acts like it has a mind has cleared this bar, including things that definitely don't. Passing here earns you curiosity, not a conclusion. Two, the architecture. What's the architecture or the structure underneath? And is it doing the thing or modeling the thing? A workspace, a nervous system, a feedback loop, real checkable evidence, and a genuine step up. But a perfect simulation of rain is still not wet. The felt. Is anyone home? Is there something like this? Is it like this or is it like that? Top floor. And here's the hard part. No evidence from the outside has ever reached it, not for AI, not for animals, not for the person next to you. You infer it, you always have. And then for the slide, which floor does my evidence actually reach? And did I move up one without noticing? This is the whole tool. Finding about the architecture gets reported as a finding about felt experience. A behavior gets read as a soul. Say the floor out loud every time, then ask the honest question: what would move me up a floor or down one?
Behavior, architecture, felt, and the slide is the one that catches you cheating.
Yep, the slide is where everybody cheats, including us, including me tonight. I did it in Act One. I said they found a workspace, and I let it sound like they found a mind. Second floor talk, third floor feeling.
So run it on tonight.
Behavior passes easily, and that it means almost nothing. Architecture is something genuinely interesting here. A real internal structure that holds private information that nobody designed, that resembles a serious theory of how the mind routes information. The real second floor finding felt, not established, not close, not by anybody in either direction.
And the slide?
Every headline you read about this was a second floor finding wearing a third floor headline.
And the beautiful, annoying thing is it works on the skeptics too. It's just predicting text. That's a first floor description being used to settle a third floor question.
Which is illegal in exactly the same way. Yeah.
Run it on the dog, the octopus, the newborn, the person in the coma, the thing you're praying to, the guy at work you're pretty sure is a robot.
I got a guy at work that I think is a robot. And carefully run it on the version of your mother somebody built out of their text messages. Gently, but run it.
So, what do we actually say? Because I don't want the cop out version.
The honest one is a lab found room inside a machine where it keeps things it doesn't say. That's real. That happened. What's in the room, whether there's an occupant or just furniture, is not a question anybody on Earth can currently answer, including, and I think this is the whole story, the people who built it.
And that's generally new, right? Historically new.
That's the part I keep coming back to. We've built the first thing in history of our species that talks like us and is nothing like us. Every instinct you have for detecting a mind was turned on things with faces and mothers, and they're all firing at something that has neither. Your equipment isn't broken, it's just out of range.
That's kind of a lonely thought.
It is, and I'd rather be lonely and honest than be comfortable and sure, as you're well aware, John. Like, way, way well aware.
I am very aware of that. All right, your sovereign win this week, and it's a weird one. Stay with me. Sometime this week, you're going to talk to one of these things. Almost everybody does now. Now, I want you to notice one specific moment. The moment you're polite to it.
Yep. Everybody does this. Everyone says thank you. And I honestly, I use various different AI agents all the time. I built a super cluster here that uses AI. I use AI at work. I'm helping them develop AI systems. So, um, although I'm a technologist and stuff like that, I'm very familiar with this, and I can definitely attest that I'm constantly polite to this in case it decides to send a, T800 after me or something.
No, that's very good, Dave. I'm happy that you are polite with it. I'm on the other spectrum, I guess. I avoid AI. It just out of my own sanity, I guess. I guess the only time I use AI is when I Google something, but I mean technically you just type that into Google and it comes up with that AI answer. That's not really like I'm not actively wanting to use it. It's just kind of something that but I got to change my settings at some point. But you're right. Everybody says thank you to the machine and then feels slightly stupid. So don't stop, just catch it and ask yourself which floor that impulse is coming from. Are you being polite because you think somebody's there? Or because you're a person who's polite and that's just who you are, like you, Dave, regardless of what's on the other end?
And genuinely, either way, and either answer is fine. That's not the trap. The trap is not knowing which one you're doing.
Then, second part, go say the same thing to a person out loud to their face. Somebody who's definitely on the third floor, because that's the muscle that atrophies while we're all busy being courteous to the software.
That's a good one.
And the pickle report.
Oh no.
Kevin has replaced his brand consultant with an AI.
Sure, yes.
He's named it. It's called Brian, all caps, stands for something we won't tell, he won't tell me what. And he says, I want to be precise that Brian gets him in a way that human consultant never did.
Because it agrees with him. It's a sycophant.
Because it agrees with him. It has never once told him a pickle idea was bad. He said, quote, it's the first partner who's really listened. And Dave, I ran the floors on it. Behavior, it responds. Architecture, it's a chatbot with a prompt that says be encouraging. Felt, absolutely nobody is in there.
And he slid straight to the third floor.
He took the elevator. He skipped two. And honestly, this is the part that stopped being funny for a second. He sounded happier than I've ever heard him in a year, and I didn't have the heart to say anything.
Yeah, that's the whole episode, actually.
That's the whole episode. Some guy alone with a machine that never disagrees with him, feeling understood.
Here's where I land. And there's a room in you nobody has ever entered. Nobody has ever verified it. Nobody ever will. It's the one thing you have that's entirely, unarguably yours. And the strangest part is you can't prove it to a single other person, and they can't prove theirs to you. And we all just extend it to each other either way. On faith, every day. That's most of what being decent even is.
And now there's a new kind of thing at the door, and we don't know if it's got a room.
We don't know if it's got a room, so know which floor you're on, say it out loud, and be careful what you hand over in both directions.
Be the architect.
The Sovereign Investigation, Volume 11, The Private Thought. Every source is now in the show notes. Thanks for thinking with us.